What's up, guys? This is Paul, and today I'm going to be giving you a tutorial on how to get the absolute best quality out of your Elgato Game Capture HD. And this tutorial is going to take you all the way from the initial capturing to the final compression, which you're going to do with your file to get a format that you can upload to YouTube or a file sharing site or what have you. So this is like my fucking 7th time doing this video. So I should be really good at it now. So this is going to be the tightest tutorial you guys have ever witnessed. It's going to be tighter than, there are a lot of ways I could go with that, but I'm not going to. This is a family channel, obviously. Alright, let's get started. So, you've got Game Capture HD open. Go into your settings here. Now you'll notice the first thing I've done is I'm not capturing in 1080p. I'm capturing in 720p. The reason for this is that the Xbox 360 does not run natively at 1080p. It runs at 720p and then upscales to 1080p just by scaling the pixels. So if you capture in 1080p from your Xbox, it's literally no different than just full screening the video and letting your computer scale the pixels up. So you're just wasting space. There's no point to capturing in 1080p unless you have a PS4 or maybe an Xbox One. Or, of course, if you're recording TV and the TV's at 1080p, blah, blah, blah. But for the Xbox, PS3, yeah, those are the two big ones. You're going to want to capture in 720p, okay? This is the other big one. Uncheck Preserve Source Format, all right? Because you want to have a capture frame rate setting that is consistent across all your videos. Because otherwise, the Game Capture HD will adjust this format depending on where you start your Elgato. So if you start at the dashboard, it'll capture in a different frame rate than if you start Game Capture HD when you're like in Halo or Battlefield or COD or whatever the fuck. And you really don't want that. It creates serious issues when you're working with the files in your project. Like if you want to do motion tracking, having that frame rate off is a serious problem, and it's just a pain in the ass. Just don't do it, okay? So stick with uncheck preserve source format. You should capture in 30 frames per second or 29.97. I think you can adjust that. Maybe not. Yeah, there's somewhere you can adjust it, but I think it defaults to 30 frames per second, which is fine. Okay, so those are the two big ones: 720p and uncheck preserve source format. Quality best, obviously. HDMI color range expanded, and that's it with Elgato. Pretty easy. Click capture, get your file. We're good. Okay, so that's step one. Now we're on to step two. We're in After Effects. Let's import a file. Well, let's import our file specifically. So, let's get this angle I have here. So pretend this is what you captured. Use your imagination. I know you guys can do it. I'm paranoid, so I'm checking to make sure I'm still recording. So make a new comp. Got our file. So we're going to do two things here. We're going to go Layer, New Adjustment Layer, Effect, Blur and Sharpen, Sharpen. Okay? So like in this. Well, that's what it says. It sharpens your video. Big surprise, right? So I like to use a value of anywhere from 10 to 15. I'm going to use 13 here. And let me zoom in so you can guys let's zoom in right on the Spartan's ass. Give you guys some fan service, right? So this is with it off, on, off, on. I have no idea if you can tell that through the crushed quality that YouTube does, but there is a difference, and I think it looks really nice. I think it helps a lot. It's kind of the secret sauce that I use in my videos, actually, and I really do think it helps your quality. So I would highly recommend using this. If you edit in Vegas, if you don't have After Effects, it's going to be a little tough for you to follow along with this tutorial, and you won't be able to do step 4 of my patented 5-step process. But you can do this step, and I think it's called Sony Sharpen within Vegas. Let's grab the same angle. Here we go. Yes. Yeah, Sony Sharpen. And I think with Sony Sharpen, you can use a value of like 0.2, and that'll work fine. on, off. Yeah, you can probably even see that better in here. Look how nice that looks. Like, I swear to God, I'm getting ghosting on my angles. That's frustrating. Oh, damn you, Reach. Anyways, so let's move back into After Effects. I just wanted to show you guys how to do that in Vegas, if you guys work in Vegas. Let's get another adjustment layer, and this is where you do your color correction. Obviously, if you're editing a montage or whatever, you probably know what you're doing with color correction, and you're going to do all kinds of cool shit. But even if you're just doing, like, a highlight video or something, I think it's worth adding at least a little bit of color correction. Really, especially with Halo, you know, I work with Halo, as you guys probably know, but Halo really needs the color correction, especially Reach. Reach looks like shit without color correction. So, even just a little basic color contrast curve, look how much better that looks. You know, it brings the colors out, makes everything look a lot nicer. Alright, so please do a little bit of color correction. So, excuse me, I had to get some coffee. That was, that's step 2. And now we're on to editing. So we're going to render this out, because this is going to be following my workflow. And my workflow is Elgato to After Effects to Vegas to After Effects to MEGUI. So we're going to be going from After Effects to Vegas here. Obviously, if you work in After Effects, you don't need to do this. If you work in Vegas, you won't need to do this either, but if you're like me and you work in tandem between the two, you will need to be rendering between the two. So this is important, okay? You need to always stay uncompressed when you move between programs. Unless you are rendering out for just a test, just to watch, like, oh, let's see what this section of my video looks like, or, you know, you're doing the final render, then you need to stay uncompressed. And in my pathway, you need to stay uncompressed all the time. Even when you're doing a final render, you'll need to stay uncompressed. So for Windows, the uncompressed file format is AVI. I think for Mac, it's QuickTime. I'm not sure, though, so don't quote me on that. So just select AVI in After Effects. You want to include your audio output, too. Now, to be safe, you see video output, go into your format, video codec, none. That means it's uncompressed. And none of this shit, okay? None. Keep it uncompressed. That way you're not losing any file. If you compress it before we do our final render and purposefully compress it, then you're going to lose file quality. It's going to look terrible, to be honest. Okay? So click OK, and then we're going to render it out. We're going to pretend I rendered this out because I don't need to. All right? So now you're in Vegas. Let's say you did your super sweet, legit editing. Ooh, look at those cool crossfades. Yeah. Alright, so you've done your editing. We're going to render out. File, render as. Same deal. Let me uncheck this. Same deal, alright. Go down to AVI. Now, I don't think Vegas actually comes with an uncompressed format. So just really select any one of these. Let me grab this HD 720. Click Customize Template. Make sure your frame size, you might have to use custom frame settings, but it's 1280 by 720 is what I want. Make sure you match your frame rate to the to your composition. Sorry, I did not mean to close that. So 30 frames per second. So 1280 by 720. None for progressive scan. None for field order because we captured in 720p. Don't mess with pixel aspect ratio. Aha! Now you see our video format. We have a codec. No. Uncompressed. Okay? None of this compression. Don't do it. And I don't mess with any of the rest of it. You can save this as a preset. I usually just call this like uncompressed 30 FPS, and then you can click save to save the template. I'm not going to do that because I already have one. And you would render it out. We're going to pretend that I was doing this because, again, I don't want to. And that's that. You've rendered out and uncompressed. Now we're going to go back into After Effects. Alright? So let's pretend I just imported my file. I'm just going to use this comp. Alright, so we've got our imported file from Vegas. This is step 4, so we're making good progress. Upscaling and anti-aliasing here. So you're going to go to Composition, Composition Settings, type in 1920, and if you have lock aspect ratio, it'll automatically go to 1080, and this is 1080p, okay? And let me go to Fit so you guys can see what happened, and you can see we've got all this blank space. that's actually fine. So you're going to get this plugin called Instant HD. Yeah, just type it in. Oops. Type it in here. This comes with the Red Giant Shooter Suite. It is not free. It does not come with After Effects, obviously. But it is pretty easy to find. I hope you guys know how to use the internet at this point, so I'll leave that to you. But anyways, you will need this if you want to do the upscaling portion of this. So put your filter type to best. Output size, custom. Uncheck lock aspect ratio. Type in 1920 by 1080. And you can see that now we have true 1080p. Okay? This is a lot better than just capturing in 1080p, because that's just stretched pixels. This stretches some of the pixels, it duplicates some of the pixels, it anti-aliases some of the pixels. It does a lot to make it look significantly better than just capturing in 1080p. Okay? So, yeah, that's how you get true 1080p out of the Xbox 360. You have to use a plugin, ironically. So the last thing we can do before we go to compression is there's this plugin, and this is free. I will provide a link for it in the description. It's called the OLM Smoother, and this thing does anti-aliasing. Okay? And so let's, I'm going to turn this off so you guys can see. This one, I'm not sure you guys are even going to be able to see the difference on YouTube. But, here. See this line right here? You see how it's jaggy rather than smooth? This is what happens when we have a low resolution and the computer tries to draw a straight line. It ends up drawing a series of jagged lines, and it looks like, you know, pretty bad, obviously, because this is supposed to be a nice, smooth, straight line. So with this OLM Smoother, it does a very little bit to help smooth out that line. That's what anti-aliasing is. Anti-aliasing smooths out the line. So, I would recommend keeping it between 4 and 6, maybe even 3 and 6. Let me just, like, boost this way the fuck up so you can get... No, that literally did nothing. Never mind. You probably can't see the difference on YouTube, but that's off. This is on, off, on, off, on. I don't know if you guys can see the difference. It's a very small difference, but it is there, and I think it works a lot better with some games that aren't Halo. Halo isn't... I don't think it plays very well with Halo per se. But, you know, it doesn't take any particular amount of time to render, so, you know, it can't hurt to add it, and it does help your quality a little bit. And you'll notice the title of this video is the best possible quality, so I'm showing you guys everything you could do. Alright, so now let's add this to our render queue. I don't need that. So, again, uncompressed. Stay uncompressed. We're going to include the audio output in this. The default settings for After Effects are uncompressed, fortunately. So I'm actually going to replace this file that I already rendered. Just to be actually, I don't have to replace it because it's the exact same file. I already have it rendered out. So render it out. You're going to get a 1080p file. We're going to pretend I clicked render. Close. I'm going to close Vegas because I don't need Vegas. I'm going to close Game Capture HD because I don't need Game Capture HD either. I'm even going to close After Effects just so that the you know, MEGUI uses memory. I'm going to purge my memory here. There's also a quick tip for After Effects. You can see, even though I closed After Effects, my memory is still being used. Well, you guys probably couldn't see that. 43%. And, you know, if you have, like, I have 8 gigs of RAM, and After Effects routinely takes me to 95% RAM usage. And sometimes, even if you close After Effects, it stays up there at, like, 92%. So you can go Edit, Purge, All Memory. Probably, yeah, you see that I dropped 5%. That's a representation of my memory right there, this little gauge here. So that can help if you don't want to actually have to close After Effects. So, we've got our uncompressed 1080p file. It's 500 megabytes, unsurprisingly. And the details, 1920 by 1080. Alright? So now, we're going to open a program called MEGUI. You can see I just searched for that because I'm special. MEGUI is a free compression codec program. It's not a compression codec program, it's just a compression program. I'm sorry, it's sort of early still. So, open up MEGUI, go Tools, oops, that is not what I wanted. Tools, AVS Script Creator, Video Input, select your video, click open. It's going to sit here for a little bit. Fantastic. You can just close this window. Video output, you can set that to where you want. By default, it goes to the same file path as before. Click save. It's going to open this video again. Close it. It's not a video, it's just a frame showing you that, yes, you do have the correct video. Okay? Now, for the encoder settings, I'm going to link you a version of MEGUI that was prepared by this guy over at the Halo forum named Fragtality. And it comes with these nice presets he made, and they're really nice. So if you download the version of MEGUI that I have linked in the description, it should give you this. If you have trouble getting the presets, feel free to comment or shoot me a message or whatever, and I will help either put up a new video or, you know, if it's simple, I'll just help out. So, anyways, I stick with his X264 preset because I think it works great. Fast render time, really great quality. If you're just going to YouTube, I think the YouTube presets renders a little faster, and there's no difference in quality on YouTube. This was made a while back, though, and YouTube might have changed their quality settings. YouTube really used to just fuck your quality. Now I don't think it's quite so bad, so I would recommend just sticking with the X264 preset. If you don't have any time constraints, you can use one of the ultimate presets, and that will give you, you know, the ultimate quality. But these take forever to render. There's like 5 passes it has to go through or something. And I don't think it's really worth it because you really wouldn't be able to tell the quality difference unless you're like crazy. So I recommend sticking with the X264 preset, but if you do have the time, you can always go to the ultimate preset. The other thing about the ultimate presets is they give you a huge file. So I would recommend sticking with the X264 preset. Anyways, you're going to hit NQ. It'll say the color space of your clip is not in YV12. Just click yes. Click OK. And then for the audio, click that little arrow. Select your file that we got from After Effects. It has the audio built into it, and MEGUI will be able to pull that out. And then click NQ. You don't have to mess with anything else, unless you want to change the audio output. Okay? Let me delete these. These are jobs I had from previous. You see I just went to the Q tab. You should have 2 jobs, your video and your audio. Click start. I'll pause the video for you guys. This shouldn't take long. Alright, we're back, and you can see it's done. Didn't take long at all. It took like 30 seconds. So we've got this clip, and you can see we're still in 1080p, but we dropped from 500 megabytes to 10 megabytes. Now the thing about this file, it doesn't have audio yet. Okay, so go to Tools, Mixer, MP4 Mixer, get your video. You can set supported files to MP4, so you make sure you grab the right one. You don't want to mix the audio into your uncompressed file because that wouldn't help you at all. Grab the audio that we created, so it'll be the one that doesn't, you know, this is an MP4 video, or what is this? It's claiming it's an MP4 video file. I don't know why it thinks it has audio with it, because it doesn't. Just grab the audio file, click open. This is all you need to mess with. Just hit Q, hit start, take like literally no time at all. And you can see we've got our file. It is in true 1080p. Well, as close to true as you can get. We've got our audio with it, although you guys probably can't hear that. And yeah, that's it. That is the whole tutorial. So I will include in the video description the OLM smoother plugin and the MEGUI stuff. The other things you'll obviously need to find yourself, and that should do it. So that is how you get the absolute best out of your Elgato. Damn, I think I'm under 20 minutes. Ooh, sick. Okay, so that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any problems, feel free to shoot me a comment or a message or what have you. And yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys.